Hello and welcome to Still Buffering, a sister's guide to teens through the ages. I am Rileigh Smurl.
And I'm Sydnee McElroy.
All right, Sydnee, I'm setting my phone timer right now for 30 minutes exactly. That is all you get for this episode. Nothing more, nothing less. Here we go.
Rileigh, you seem a little uncomfortable.
I'm very uncomfortable. I'm setting my phone timer. Every time you mention it, I'm going to mark it down by 1 minute. By the end of the episode, it's just going to be 2 minutes long.
So the reason that Rileigh is very uncomfortable this week is that, first of all, thank you to everybody who's been posting in our Facebook group.
That was hilarious.
The prom photos.
All those prom pictures. I
and
love
homecoming.
them all.
Yes, all of your photos, all of those, I mean, they're wonderful. They're amazing. So thank you. Thank you for sharing all of the beauty and the awkwardness and the it's wonderful.
It is. It's great.
I do have to make one quick admission. A lot of people, I posted that picture of myself from senior prom and I commented on my hair, my giant hair
that mom made.
That's what I have to be truthful about.
You don't have curly hair.
I don't have curly hair. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, it's okay, I have curly hair. I am not. Believe me, I used to want to have curly hair. I wanted it so badly that mom would do my hair like that for every dance. So that's not natural. That is hours. Hours of hot rollers. That's what that is. Hours and hours of hot rollers and then a can of hairspray and a pick.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, and that was what I think all three of us girls went through every dance, and you probably will continue to, Rileigh, unless you stop her.
I stopped her this year. Just put a stop to it. Like, nope, put those rollers away, mom. Put them away.
No curls.
Get out those curls. Get them out of my hair.
No, I envy you curly girls. I
do too.
I am not one of you.
Me either.
No, I'll fake it though if given the opportunity. But thank you, and it got me thinking about a topic. When we start talking about prom and dances and like high school rites of passage, you start talking about more personal issues sometimes. One of those being sex, and I know Rileigh does not want to talk to me about that, but I thought maybe sex education would be a good topic. You know, and this isn't. Listen. I do not want to, if you're a teenager and you don't know about the birds and the bees yet, I am not here to break it to you. That is not what this podcast is about.
Go ask your parents.
Go talk to your parents about that. That's not I have a kid already. I'm going to have to tell her about it someday. I've been trying to get Rileigh to let me explain it to her for a long time.
Never.
I do that as part of my day job, but I am not here to answer those questions for you right now. All I want to do is talk about, Rileigh, sex education in school. Because I think it is a source of great discomfort for us through the year, just because it's always handled, at least in my experience, a little awkwardly.
And also kind of grossly. It's really gross. I'm doing this for all of you, for your listening enjoyment. Like, this is the only time in my entire life I will ever talk about this topic. I'm not going to say the word, ever talk about this topic with any of my family members ever.
It's funny because, Rileigh, you are like this about anything personal, anything like bikini area. Rileigh gets this way. Taylor was always this way. Our other sister, Taylor, she was, I don't think she is as much now, but growing up, she was always this way. And it was never an issue for me. Like, I was always happy to talk about anything. I was never very uncomfortable about it just didn't bother me. So I think maybe this will be good. This will be therapeutic.
I don't know about therapeutic. Maybe I'm going to be uncomfortable for the next 26 minutes. Then that's okay.
Now, the other reason that I thought that this would be good for us to talk about is that, Rileigh, you missed school the other day.
I did. I came in late.
Okay, she missed a class specifically because of what they were doing in sex ed in that class.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell this story? Do you want me to
elaborate? Ahead. Go ahead, Rileigh. Tell us what was happening it was health class, I'm assuming.
It was health class, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all required to take health, and I was taking it this year, and it's usually taught by our teacher that works at the school. But for 4 or 5 weeks, we have this person come in and do sex education for all of us.
Which is great, because does that mean you have a health teacher that doesn't know about sex or isn't qualified to teach you about it?
I think they have state I don't know, this probably isn't right, but state mandated like things they have to teach us, and this is like this woman's job. She goes, this is what she told us, I'm not just making this up, she told us that she goes to like the juvenile detention centers and teaches them about sex, and then comes to our school and teaches us about sex. So yeah, that's her job.
What's her title? Like, is she
I don't know.
a medical person? Is she a teacher?
She sounds like
she's
very nice. She sounds like she knows very little about the medical side of anything.
Okay, so somebody, I don't even know. Because I mean, even if like you have certification in teaching health, I assume you would know more about it than the average person. Right. So
I don't know what her qualification.
So we don't know what her background is, but she came in to teach you.
She came in to teach us about sex. Okay. Yes. And at first it was just like she gives us role playing things that like we have to fill out. Anyways, that day she was teaching us about birth control, and we were doing a thing called the condom game, which is where she put us into teams, and it's all, I am usually in all honors classes. I know all my friends that are in all honors classes. Like, I know everyone I'm in every class with, except for this class. I don't know any of these people. They all honestly kind of make me a little bit uncomfortable because they're all very like outgoing, and I am not. But they were putting us into teams.
I love the stereotype of the honors kids who are all quiet and uncomfortable, but then comfortable because they're all uncomfortable, and then suddenly like you're away from other uncomfortable kids, and you don't know how to function. It's a whole new world.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't talk in that class. But we were playing the condom game. She put us into teams, and she gave us condoms, and we had to put them, I don't know what they put them on. I don't know because I didn't go, but they had to put them on things and time them to see who could do it fastest.
So it was a race. Was it like a relay race?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you have to like take turns?
Yeah, everyone had to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because the next day she was like, so did everyone get a chance to put a condom on something? And I just did not say anything because I didn't want to be the only one that day to be putting a condom on in front of the entire class.
That's one of those moments where I wish I could have like leapt into the body of one of your classmates. Like in some sort of mysterious 80s movie and been like, ooh, Rileigh didn't get to. Hey, lady with whatever qualifications you have.
With sex qualifications.
Rileigh missed it. Can she do it?
They don't know my name, though. That's the good thing about that class. No one knows my name. No one knows I exist. I
this quiet girl missed it.
This girl is always reading a book and seems very uncomfortable whenever you mention the word sex. Didn't do it. Make her do it right now.
Can she do it in front of the whole class, please? So we can all watch?
By herself, please.
So it was sort of like, here's what I'm going to envision, since you weren't there and you can't tell us for sure what happened. It was like, on Top Chef, when they have to do the relay races with like, they have to chop an onion and like break down a chicken and whatever, like shuck a bunch of oysters. Uh-huh. It was kind of like that, right?
Except with condoms. I'm assuming. I mean, now I'm thinking of all of my classmates in the Iron Chef kitchen, like doing this in front of our sex qualified teacher. But yeah, I guess that's what it is.
I hope someday I can be a sex qualified teacher. Oh, so okay. It sounds like, at least we'll discuss some more of your experiences in sex ed, like ones you've actually been there for.
Yeah.
It sounds like that in general, it's still a little bit as awkward as it was back in my day.
I mean, I wasn't there, but yes.
My first introduction to sex ed, I remember, was in 5th grade, and I think a lot of people got this kind of like mini sex ed like thing, where it wasn't about sex, it was about like your body's changing. That's what it was called. Your body's changing. And it was like a video we watched about, like, they divided us up, girls in one class, boys in the other.
They did that for you too?
Yeah,
yes, they did.
In 5th grade they did.
Yeah.
And we watched a video about periods and stuff. And so it was like, your body's changing. I don't know what the boys watched.
I don't either.
Because they were in another room.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I still don't know.
And then we did have a doctor who came in and was like, would answer questions.
Did they give you gift bags?
I don't remember having gift bags.
They gave us like a gift bag with like toothpaste, which I don't understand because we were brushing our teeth when we were little. Toothpaste, deodorant, and like a tampon and a pad. And you're like, here you go. I guess you're gonna start smelling really bad and you're gonna start having periods. So here you go. Here's one of each.
And toothpaste, because we just ran out of things to put in there.
We
I
only
like that
had
they
3
give you
things in
a
them.
tampon and a pad.
Yeah, like this is gonna last you for literally a third of a day. Here you go.
I know those are clearly just like prototype things.
Oh,
those
yeah.
are for you to take home and like unwrap and look at and try to figure out like, what does this do?
This was right before lunch, so we all walked to lunch holding our little grab bags full of lady products, and we get to lunch, we all pull out our tampons, and all the girls just look at each other like, what is this? What do we do with this? I don't understand.
Okay, so that was fairly similar, and that was when, I think I've referenced this before, maybe on Sawbones I've talked about it, but I had the experience of a gym teacher who was also responsible for like talking to us in this class, and explained to us that as our body changes, the shape of our body changes, and he drew a triangle, and he said, this is what girls will look like. Like we'll be kind of narrow on top, and then we'll just keep getting wider on the bottom. And then he drew an upside down triangle and said, this is what boys look like. They're real broad on the top and they're real narrow on the bottom. And you're just going to keep getting more like this.
This is false.
That's it. There you go.
Bye, everybody. Great health class.
I'm just sitting there looking at myself going, what parts of me are going to be triangular in a few years? Like, how do I navigate with the triangle body that's coming?
That's going to be really hard to fit through doorways. I don't know how any of us are going to fit through doorways when we're older.
With male, female, whatever. It doesn't matter. None of us are going to fit. Why? My parents don't look like triangles. How do I not know?
Yeah.
Do you stop? Like, do you look like a triangle and then you go back to like human shaped after a while?
No. Now I'm thinking of like werewolves on like a full moon, where like they're werewolves for just that one night, and they're normal people. Like on a full moon, you're a triangle. And then you go back to a normal person.
People. No wonder middle school was so rough. We were all triangles the whole time.
All triangles, and like we were blind to it. We didn't know we were triangles.
No,
it was just a thing.
I in middle school, that like the next evolution of that was we had co-ed health class, and part of that was sex ed, and we did some of the things you're kind of talking about in high school. We were doing some of this, and I don't know if my health teacher was like groundbreaking or if this was just like the norm.
Was it a sex qualified teacher?
This was just, I mean, she was the health teacher, so they didn't bring in any special like sex qualified person. So, or maybe she just happened to be a health teacher who was also sex
qualified in sex.
But she taught us all about, like, we did some of the role playing kind of things, like about peer pressure and like being on a date, and you know, we would have to sit in front of the class and like and it was always very gendered, like very like heteronormative kind of stuff, where like you would have to sit, like a boy and a girl would have to sit in front of the class, and the boy would try to pressure the girl to make out with him, and the girl would have to say no, and you'd have, and then everybody would critique them and be like, you know, you should have been more forceful. Why didn't you? And it was always, I mean, like, which is ridiculous, and like hopefully we can evolve past that now. But the thing that stands out to me the most is that we played a game called Risky Business, which is a reference to a movie.
The movie?
Okay, so you
Tom
were aware?
Cruise?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm impressed.
There we go.
So we played Risky Business, and basically what it was is she had put a bunch of different, not just sex practices, but things that you could do that may put you at risk for getting some sort of either sexually transmitted infection or just some sort of infection. Because I mean, she included things like HIV and hepatitis, which you can get other ways as well. Right. So she gave us all these note cards, and they had everything on them from like I said, sexual practices to like getting a tattoo, or one of them was like holding hands, you know, like shaking hands with somebody, sitting on the same toilet seat, that kind of thing. So that we could discuss things that also weren't risky, as well as things that might be. And she had the room labeled, like each corner was labeled either no risk, low risk, mild risk, or moderate risk, or high risk of getting some sort of infection. And then you had to take your little note cards you drew randomly. You had to take your note card, and it had what it was on the front and then a description of it on the back in case you didn't know what it was. And you had to like look at it and then decide and go to your corner of the room. And then it was like show and tell, because then everybody in each corner had to read their cards, and she would either tell them if they were right or wrong. And then they had to describe to the class whatever they got on their card was, which was really intense
It sounds like it would be.
For middle school. I know it was intense because one of my friends passed out in the middle of it.
Oh.
She was standing there in her corner of the room and just
That
went down,
been me.
hit the floor.
That was me. That was time traveler Rileigh.
I think it was too much for her. She couldn't take it. And I remember that some of the sexual practices were, I mean, I think it was a good idea that we were discussing all of the things you can do, I guess. I guess it was, because certainly there were probably people doing those things. And so it's important to talk about them all. But for others of us who were a little more naive at the time, I learned all kinds of things that I didn't know you could do.
Right.
Or how to do. But by the end of class, I did.
But you know now.
Yeah. And again, I'm not criticizing that. I don't know if it was a bad thing. I just mean it was a really intense.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bunch of like 11-year-olds.
Class period. Yeah. It was a lot to take in. We all walked out a lot wiser.
Yeah.
And a lot less comfortable with each other.
I feel like we should qualify really quick. For people who do not live in the United States, the ages of middle school and high school.
That's a good
school.
point. Somebody's asked us to do that. Yeah.
Yes. Elementary school, without going into too much detail, is pretty much kindergarten through 5th grade, which is like 5 years old to 10 years old.
I think that's about
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And then middle school is right after elementary school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which is like 11, 12, 13-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And then high school is right after middle school with 9th through 12th grade, which is like 14 through 18.
Right.
Yeah, that's about right.
Right. So I would have been like 12 with this. And so for me, this was a very intense experience. But I mean, I will also say I'm kind of glad that we did, because I don't know, you already sound like you're getting more practical information about sexual education in high school than I did.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you that in our health class in high school, which it was the same thing, we had like one mandatory health class that everybody was supposed to take.
Right.
And I took it like my freshman or maybe it was my sophomore year. It was one of the two. It was early, just to get it out of the way, because you don't want to be the only senior in health class.
Right. And there are people like that in my class.
Yeah. So I remember taking it, and I remember watching lots of movies.
You all watch movies?
That was all we watched a lot of like movies about something serious. So like I remember watching movies about people getting STDs.
Yeah.
Sexually transmitted infections. I remember watching like a movie about somebody who got chlamydia and a movie about HIV.
Yeah.
And then, but it was all in the same like everything was a movie. Like we also watched a movie about a girl with bulimia. Like, I mean, it was just, it was like, hey, there's probably a Lifetime movie about this awkward thing.
It's Lifetime movies. Yes.
That's what they were.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel like I can tell you about it. I'm really uncomfortable. So I'm just going to show you this movie, and then we're not going to talk about it very much.
No, we've only watched one movie, but I know what you're talking about. And it was before the sex qualified teacher came in. And it was about a girl who was 13 years old, like a freshman, but was 13, and was forced into sexual activity. And then through this high school, which I'm surprised there are 13-year-olds in this high school. It was a very weird high school. But
you may have been 13 when you started high school.
Yeah. For a few weeks though.
Yeah.
But there was an outbreak of syphilis. But there was this one girl that was also 13 years old who had been involved with 50 other people in this high school.
Oh my goodness.
So this outbreak of syphilis was like the movie Contagion. Like it was like an epidemic.
So it was more about controlling the syphilis than it was about.
It really was. Like
the
that's all I
importance of
learned.
Protection.
Was that this one girl was with a lot of people, and this one girl wasn't, but they both got syphilis. That's about it. That's really all I learned in that movie.
What were you supposed to learn from that? Like don't
have sex.
Don't get syphilis.
Don't get syphilis. I don't know.
Or if you do have sex, don't get syphilis.
But they seemed like it wasn't a big deal because they didn't have to tell their parents. They made that very clear. They didn't have to tell their parents when they got tested for it. And all you had to do to get rid of it, in this movie at least, was to get one shot of antibiotics.
Actually, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then, yeah.
Generally speaking, yes, that's
90%
true.
of the kids in this movie did not tell their parents they had it, got tested for it, were positive, and then got one shot of antibiotics and were done.
You know what's, where was this movie set? Was it set in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is a state to state difference. Let me just say this. I could not treat people who are underage without
consent,
without their parents. Like I can't even, if you come in and you're 13 into my office, I need like a note from I need parental.
And this was like a school
involvement.
nurse. Like a school nurse was testing them and taking blood and stuff like that. And like, I don't even know where the school's nurse's office is.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot for well, I mean, but I guess that's an important message because I didn't watch a movie like that in health class, but there was a show I used to watch that I think is still on now called Degrassi.
Uh-huh. They redid a Netflix original, Degrassi.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you watch it?
No, but I watched the old Degrassi.
Okay. So Degrassi, it was actually a Canadian show, but it was way cooler than a lot of the old American teen shows from my day, because it, like, they used to say, I remember on the channel it was on that I watched it here, they would say, it goes there. Degrassi, it goes there. Degrassi, it did. It went there.
It does indeed.
Because I remember one of the characters got gonorrhea of the throat.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yes. And I remember thinking, like, at the age I was, like, how does that happen? What?
What?
And like, it was very educational for me. And it was a very important lesson about, like, always being safe no matter what you're doing. And that it doesn't mean, like, just because, like, well, I only did that with one person, that you're safe from it. No, I mean, you should always, protect yourself and do things responsibly. And it was, Degrassi taught me more about sex than I think anything in school did.
I feel like I want to back up to middle school for a second, because you're talking about how she actually taught you about, like, diseases and, like, you call them sexual practices, like things like that. In middle school, my first year and a half of middle school was in a Catholic school. And I am not kidding you when I say there was a section in our health books that was about sex. We skipped over that entire section. We went to the one that was called abstinence. And they just taught us, don't do it. And I was like the most innocent person in my entire middle school. I didn't know what they weren't telling us to do. Like, well, I know I'm not supposed to do something. Don't know what it is. And then it was like, I go to public school for the last year of health class, and they're showing us slideshows with pictures of sexually transmitted infections on them. Like, pictures of people who had them. And I was like, I just went from not knowing what I was supposed to not be doing to looking at pictures of people who did it wrong. Like,
you still don't know what it is.
I still don't know what it is. What if I get this by, like, going and drinking after someone? They aren't teaching me what it is. I don't know what I'm not supposed to be doing.
Riley's suddenly terrified. Like, fine, I get it. I'll abstain. What do I abstain from?
I'm just not going to tell me. I just can't touch anyone ever at any time.
What if I accidentally do this thing that they're telling me not to do?
And then I get all these awful diseases, like awful things that you were showing me. I didn't understand. I didn't know what I wasn't supposed to do.
Wow. See, I actually, what's funny is Mom and Dad gave me a book. This wasn't in school. This was just our parents gave me a book that was actually written by a Catholic priest. So it was, from because I mean, we were both raised Catholic,
right?
And it was How You Got to Be You, and it was all about everything,
really?
Pictures and all. Now at the end, yes, and I think that's probably true for a lot of faith-based sex ed type programs. At the end, it said, like, don't have sex until you're married.
Yeah,
that was the final. That was the moral of the story.
Yeah,
but it did explicitly describe sex. Like, I knew what it was after Mom read me and walked me through that book. Just the two of us sat there and went through that book together, and by the end, I was like, well, I get it.
I got a puberty book as well, but mine was from our Grandma Jody, and it was an American Girl book, and it was called, like, Your Body and You or something like that. I don't know, but it was all cartoon pictures inside of American Girl doll-esque drawings.
Yes,
and it was nothing about sex, just all about puberty.
I remember.
And this is where I learned how to put a tampon in, because I got them in elementary school, didn't know what to do with them. And then this book that I got in, like, 6th grade, I want to say, taught me how to put a tampon in, taught me how to, like, put on deodorant, shave my armpits, like, stuff like that.
Now, when did you get the book where you read it and you started calling it pubic hair?
Taylor drew a comic of me.
No, that was a real thing, though. You
I think it was that book.
Okay, I thought that was that book, because you really did show it to Taylor and say, "Look, pubic hair."
I feel like I was younger than 6th grade, and I feel like I was probably
no, you were little then,
school.
because Taylor was still in the headspace where she was not acknowledging
like
any
I
of
am
this.
now.
Yes, and so she was horrified. Like, you held up this book and were like, "Look, pubic hair," and she was like, "I can't even. I have to get away from my sister."
I probably knew about as much then as I did in Catholic school.
Okay, I'm not gonna ask you to tell me anything you know, but like, do you know now?
Yes.
Okay, who
Health class.
Okay, so they
year.
finally in health class have told you enough
This
for you
year.
to understand
Yes.
what you're abstaining from at the moment.
I know what I'm abstaining from now. And also health class in 8th grade, because that was when she showed us slideshows of STDs.
Did they teach you about, though? Because I don't ever remember really anyone sitting down and like I said, there were vague references to protecting yourself and like how to avoid getting sexually transmitted infections, and what could cause them and what couldn't.
Right.
Underlying it all was a common theme of abstinence. I think that no matter what level of education I was at, they didn't tell you that was the only thing, but it was like the end of every conversation was, but your best bet is don't have sex, which was crazy to me in high school, because I remember having a health teacher looking at all of us going, just your best bet is just don't have sex for now, just wait until you're older, just don't have sex. And I remember the one of the girls who sat near me had a kid, and I remember thinking like, well, she did, and like maybe we need to talk about other things, because like the other things we could do, because clearly people are having sex. Like,
so was there not someone teaching you about different forms of birth control in high school?
No, I think there was a vague, like, there are ways, condoms were definitely mentioned. I knew what those were.
Yeah.
But as far as like what else I could do, I had no idea. It was the only reason I ever learned about any of that was that I went on birth control pills for acne.
Yeah.
And so Mom took me to the doctor, and the doctor told me about it and explained it to me and what it was. And from there, I mean, I already had enough. I read a lot.
Yeah.
I was curious about this stuff. And so from there, I read enough information to figure it all out for myself. But if I had counted on the school to teach me how to keep myself safe, no.
See, now we had this whole day that was right before the condom game day where she brought in her birth control box, is what she called it. Mm-hmm. And she had, for us to look at, an IUD, and she told us about the depot shot. She showed us an implant that you can get in your arm, the patch that you can put on, birth control pills, condoms, and then a bunch of other things that I had never heard of that are also forms of birth control, or ways, I guess mostly ways to prevent against sexually transmitted infections.
Oh, did she show you things like diaphragms and sponges? And okay.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff we don't use as much these days. They're still available. People use them, but it's just not as common.
But she went into great detail about like mostly, because I guess there aren't that many forms of male birth control. I guess there are, but I mean, mostly female, like IUDs and shots and stuff like that. But
it's usually just most men use condoms. But
she spent like a majority of the class telling us about the different forms of birth control for females.
That's really great. Yeah. I mean, coming from and now let me say, I am coming from the perspective of a healthcare provider here. Mm-hmm. This is not my political agenda. I see a lot of adolescents, and I have found that by and large, they don't know this stuff, and they do have questions, and it's usually not just them asking. I have parents who are saying, like, please talk to my kid about this stuff, because I'm terrified that something's going to happen, and I don't know how to talk to him about it because it makes me really uncomfortable. And I mean, I think all parents kind of echo to me the same thing, like, I wish they wouldn't do this yet, because I feel like they're not old enough to understand the repercussions possibly yet. But I also think they're going to do it anyway.
So they should be safe.
So will you help me with it?
Right.
And so my perspective is very much that. Like, how can I help? How can I give you all the information? How can I make sure that when people decide to have sex, that they have all the information on how to protect themselves, and that they know what decision they're making and what they're entering into and what they're doing.
Right.
And then afterwards, like, allow people to decide when they're ready to do things like start families, like to make that conscious decision, as opposed to just, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to prevent this. And so I just did what my friends were doing and what people were talking about. And because I'm a human and we're all animals, we're driven to do. and now I'm in a situation where I need a lot of help. And so, you know, from my perspective, that's great. Cause I don't think if I hadn't had such an understanding mom, I don't think I would have known all that stuff from school.
Yeah. And I mean, the only other thing about that I don't know if you all did was we have an assignment actually that's due like the end of this week. Like I haven't done it yet, but you're supposed to visit or call a health clinic. Like we have the Marshall Health Clinic. Yeah. And ask them what services they provide in terms of birth control or like prenatal care. Really? And then like ask them like, I don't know, a bunch of other questions about their clinic. But yeah, that's like our assignment.
That's really okay.
Calling them and finding out information about like teen pregnancy, but also regular pregnancy, and also just like sex in general services.
That's great. Yeah. That's good that you need to start thinking about how you're going to access healthcare and take care of yourself in the future. Right. So that's a good lesson certainly for women's health and prenatal care and sex ed, but it's also a great lesson in general at this age to start thinking about, you know, when you turn 18, you don't have to take your mom to the doctor anymore or your dad. You can just go. So, you know,
you need to know like how
to navigate the healthcare system. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
But I mean, so far I haven't finished this health course yet, but that's pretty much the extent of my sexual education.
That's a step in the right direction though, I think. Because I really do feel like we were kind of wandering in the dark a lot. And I remember a lot of what I learned before Mom set me down and told me the truth, which I'm glad she did. And I know that sounds really uncomfortable to you.
It sounds awful, like horrifying.
But that's why I offered to do it for you so much. I thought it would be less uncomfortable coming from me.
It's kind of the same amount of uncomfortability.
Thanks. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Well, it's true.
I'm a mom. Okay. But you know, I learned before that, a lot of it was just what my friends said. And I remember one of my first ideas, the first concept when I was younger that I had about sex was that that sex is illegal. I had no idea it had anything to do with babies. I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was really. I mean, I was young. I just knew that there was this thing called sex and that sometimes like bad people did it. Like they did it in alleys somewhere. Somewhere there were people doing drugs and there were people having sex and it was all kind of the same thing and it was totally illegal. And if you did it, you would get arrested and go to jail. And I thought that was illegal. And I also thought that it was illegal not to go to college.
Well, you were a lot of misinformation there in your childhood.
It was good when Mom sat me down and said, "Oh, honey, no. Let me tell you about this stuff."
I feel like the earliest mention like that I have that is a misconception of sex is the movie Mean Girls. I first watched it with my friends when I was in like 4th grade. And the health teacher just hands them out a box of condoms, but he didn't call them condoms, so I didn't know what they were. I was very confused. And he just says, "Don't have sex, you will get pregnant and die."
Yes.
So I was like, well, I don't know how you get pregnant. I don't know how you would die. Not going to do it because I don't want to die. And then a few years later, it's like, don't have sex. I was like, well, they're just, confirming that. So good job, Mean Girls.
Well, that was kind of what mine was like. I really feel like my sex education was like, here are some things we're going to tell you about that you didn't know people could do with their bodies and that they're doing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. And then, okay, now don't do any of that. And if you do, that was pretty much it. Like, you're going to get diseases. There's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. Or you're going to get pregnant. And there was never, like, nothing was ever rational. And I think it's because everybody was always so uncomfortable. So I think it sounds good that people are more open. That's why I would encourage you, Rileigh.
Yes.
And anyone else your age who's uncomfortable talking about it. Because most people have a little bit of discomfort with this. Right. Is the more open you can be and the more you can just talk about it, acknowledge that it's something that whether or not you choose to do it right now or whatever your moral feelings or political feelings or religious beliefs, whatever those are, the more we acknowledge that this is a thing that exists and we have a way to talk about it with whoever we feel comfortable talking about it with, not with everybody, but whoever you were comfortable talking about with, the safer we're all going to be. And the easier it will be for us to make the right decision for each one of us. Yeah. Is that fair to say? Yeah. That wasn't too painful?
No.
Okay.
And your timer has been up for a few minutes.
I know. So. Well, I had to give you some advice.
I let you keep going. You seemed like you were excited about telling me about this.
I am. I love giving. I think this is important information.
Well, now I have it.
Now you have it. And if you ever, have follow-up questions and you just want to pop some
Don't think-
popcorn and, grab some Diet Dr. Peppers and
Don't think I'm going to be doing
sit
that
on the couch under a
anytime
blanket
soon.
and talk about this stuff. Just real like sister
Nope.
chat.
Nope.
We can,
No,
really?
no,
Just like a slumber party.
no, never. Never
Okay.
going to happen. Nope, never, never, ever.
We'll talk to somebody, okay?
Okay.
All right. That's all I ask.
Maybe my sex qualified teacher.
Yeah, that's fine. Whoever this person is, they sound very qualified. All right. Well, Rileigh,
Is that
thanks
enough
for
sex talk?
Yes, thanks
Oh,
for
thank
indulging
God.
me this week. Thank you guys at home for listening in. Hopefully this has been helpful to somebody.
Yeah. You can breathe now. We're done.
You can breathe.
We're done.
We're not gonna talk about that anymore. Thank you everybody again for the involvement on our Facebook group.
Yeah.
If you're not a member, please come join and check out some amazing photos and CD binders and all kinds
They're
of
amazing.
cool stuff. Listen to the Spotify Teen Jams playlist,
Which
that's
is
been
also
made,
great.
based on Still Buffering, which is awesome, and I am totally listening to in the shower every day now
Right.
because it's awesome.
Yeah.
Check us out on Twitter at StillBuff.
We are not a podcast about being muscly.
No,
We're not a podcast about being buff.
just what we could get. So at Still Buff, tweet at us, please. If you have ideas or things you think questions we could answer on the show, please email us
Yeah.
at stillbuffering@maximumfun.org.
And thank you to the Novellas for the use of our theme song, Baby You Change Your Mind.
Hey, this is Sydnee from the future after we were done recording the episode with a quick public health clarification and announcement. When I was trying to figure out if all of those kids in that movie could get treated for syphilis without their parents' permission, the truth is yes. In all states, you can seek treatment for STIs without parental permission. Of course, we always prefer to have parents involved if possible, but if not, you still can. The difference is that it's a state-by-state regulation as to contraceptive services and other health care that minors may receive. There are other issues that vary state by state, and in West Virginia, we are one of the states that actually is a little more restrictive in terms of what I can do without parents present or at least aware of what's going on. So it is a state-by-state issue, but in general, no matter where you are, if you need counseling or services regarding sexually transmitted infections, you should be able to receive it. So check your state laws to figure out what else applies to you. And it is always optimal to talk to the people you love and trust in your life to look for support for serious and sensitive issues like this. But if you can't, go talk to a doctor. So, all right, we'll finish the show now.
This has been Still Buffering, a sister's guide to teens through the ages. I am Rileigh Smurl.
I'm Sydnee McElroy.
I am a teenager.
And I was too.
Hi, buddies. I'm Travis.
And I'm Andy.
And we host Bunker Buddies on MaximumFun.org. What is Bunker Buddies, you ask? Well, it's a show hosted by two comedians about how to survive the apocalypse. We talk about stuff like the rapture,
Zombie apocalypse.
how to survive an EMP,
What if a disease takes over the dead?
how to survive a food shortage.
The people who eat other people.
So don't get freaked out. We're going to tell you how to get through it.
We're comedians first and, aspiring preppers second. Join us.
So tune in every Wednesday on MaximumFun.org, iTunes, or wherever podcasts are sold.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Listener supported.